Good morning, students. Yesterday we saw the division, the reasons for the division in Buddhism as well as Jainism, and we also then started the growth of Puranic Hinduism, the topic whereby we were talking about the cult of Vaishnavism and the Shivite faith, which was not just in South India. Though, students, you must always remember that the Vaishnavism and the Shivaism, that these things as a separate category altogether, they started in South India. Okay, they started in South India and it gradually spread to North India. Okay, this cult whereby Lord Vishnu was responsible for certain things, and Lord Shiva, definitely the destroyer, had a different department altogether to look after. And in instance, I just wish, again, like all the time, the previous times, that I could have explained it to you on the board. But I would just like to tell you one thing. When this just a bit of a snippet here. What happened was, when this culture of and the cult of Shiva and Lord Vishnu, when they started as different and separate cults, after some time, after some centuries, it was felt that yes, it should not give rise to a very orthodox kind of a belief, whereby there comes a time when the followers of Lord Shiva and the followers of Lord Vishnu actually get into conflict with each other. Okay, of course there would be ideological debates and philosophical debates and the spiritual debates among different belief systems. That was something which had been there for thousands of years in India, so that was not a problem at all, because even the followers of the same gods, the same cult, could have a different opinion about certain things in life. For example, there could be, say, for example, Lord Krishna. There could be, you could be a great devotee of Lord Krishna and still have a difference of opinion, and still might not agree with a lot of actions of Lord Krishna. And in similar fashion, there could be certain set of people who are the devotees of Lord Krishna and would be in support of everything and whatever he did. But then you, in spite of having certain opinions which might not give an impression that you are absolute devout, but you still are a great believer of Lord Krishna. But you could say that yes, during the battle of Mahabharat, probably he shouldn't have done this, or he shouldn't have done that, or certain things of the similar kind. So there could always be a difference in ideologies and philosophies and debates. But then the fear here was, during the 12th and the 13th and the 9th centuries and the 10th centuries, that this cult of Shivaism and Vaishnavism, that could actually give rise to a complete sectarian kind of a conflict, whereby both of them do not actually see eye to eye with each other. And that's precisely is the reason, students, though it is not there in the chapter, but I would just like to mention that the after Valmiki Ramayana and the Ramayana which was written by Ramcharitmanas, that is Tulsidas, not by Ramcharitmanas, that is by Tulsidas, that is Ramcharitmanas. uh, for South Indians, the most authoritative Ramayana which the South Indians follow is the Kamban Ramayana, which was written in Tamil. And it is very interesting to know that you probably would have seen it even on television this time, whereby before Lord Rama and Sri Ram, whatever you would want him to address as, before he actually crosses the Indian boundaries and crosses the ocean and enters Sri Lanka to really slug it out with Ravana, before he leaves Rameshwara Shriram, he erects the Shivling of course Lord Shiva, and prays to him and pleases him with his prayers, and he requests him to give a boon to him and his army so that they can be successful in defeating Ravan, because Ravan, we all know, was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. Now, this incident whereby Lord Shiva is being really invoked by Sri Ram on the beaches of Rameshwaram, this incident is not mentioned in neither the original Valmiki Ramayana, and neither is it mentioned in the Tulsidas Charita Ramcharitramanas. It for the first time was mentioned in Kamban Ramayana, which was written in Tamil. Okay, this incident for the first time has been mentioned in the Tamil Ramayana. So, what does it tell you? It gives you an idea that the great scholars and the great, spiritual masters in South India, they did not want this sectarian thing to kind of, escalate into something bigger problem between the Shivais and the Vaishnavites, and that is why Kambana introduced this incident, or whereby Sri Ram, which of course is considered to be the avatar of Vishnu, actually prays and invokes Lord Shiva so that he can have a victory against Ravan. So this clearly gives an impression that in the end all of them have a great regard and respect for each other, and neither of them can do without each other. Neither Lord Shiva can do without Lord Vishnu, and neither Lord Vishnu can do without Lord Shiva. So there is no point in having a conflict as such. Of course, ideological differences, spiritual differences in terms of how you philosophize, how you consider certain acts to be the legitimate ones, certain acts probably unethical ones. All those things could be debated, but it should remain as a debate. It should start as a debate and end as a debate. Should not take the form of a wider conflict at all. And so this is an effort which was made by, at least in my opinion, let me be very categorical about it, it's definitely not mentioned here in the book, but in my opinion, this was an effort made by Kamban himself when he introduced this incident. So the growth of Puranic Hinduism is done. Now, building temples. Around the time, that is, building temples. Guys, yes. Around the time that the stupas at sites such as Sanchi were acquiring their present form, the first temples to house images of gods and goddesses were also being built. The early temple was a small square room called the Garbhagriha. Guys, this thing has not changed even today. The largest and the biggest of temples you go around the world, whether you go to India, southern part of India, northern part of India, you go to United States of America, the European lands where Hindu temples have been built, anywhere, this structure of where you have a Garbhagriha, that is a small room where the deity is kept, or probably his symbols are kept, where Lord Shiva's statue could not, maybe is not there, but a Shivaling is definitely there, or his trident, which we know as Trishul, is there. Either of the situation, it is in the Garbhagriha with a single doorway. We all know उसमें सिर्फ एक ही दरवाज़ा होता है. उस कमरे में कभी भी it does not have two doors. It always would have one door. Otherwise, definitely some people do take liberties where they have more than one door, but then usually you would see, like for example, in Calcutta, if some of you might have visited the very famous Dakshineshwar temple of goddess Kali, where Ramakrishna Paramans, the great Ramakrishna Paramans, the guru of Swami Vivekananda himself, was the pujari there. And in that temple campus, you have the Shiva temples in one line. You have Shiva temples which have all the shivlings, and that Garbhagriha, or rather all the Garbhagrihas which you have in those Shiva temples, they have they have actually two doors. I think two doors. I think probably three doors. I think so. They do not have just one door, because I think three doors or probably four doors. I don't quite remember, but they have definitely more than two doors. Definitely three doors. I clearly recollect, but maybe not. Yes, three doors, not four. I'm sorry about that, students. Three doors, which are one of the doors. One of the door looks towards River Ganga. One of the door, yes, to the other temple, yes, there are three doors. So of course people have taken liberties, but the Garbhagriha thing, it could be the number of doors, that is the number of entrance, could be modified, but then it has always been the Garbhagriha. Gradually a tall structure known as the Shikhar was built over the central shrine. That is, we know that the temple, it has a dome, whether it could be a pointed dome or it could be a circular dome. It is That is open to your artistic liberty. Temple walls were often decorated with sculpture. Later temples were far more elaborate, with assembly halls, huge walls, and gateways and arrangements for supplying water. Students, as we know, in the temples, the size of the temples kept increasing, from small, just Garbhagriha, which had a very small, probably entrance, to large and then massive temple complexes in India. Massive temple. If you go to the Madurai temple, it is it's beyond the world. It's beyond this world. It is impossible to believe that. How could someone conceptualize something so grand and artistically so perfect? It is just eye popping. So that is how it is. Gradually, people started, giving out more and more wealth and more thought to maintaining and preserving the memories of those great gods, and because they felt that probably they owed a great amount of gratitude to the gods. And so the kings also started contributing huge amount of gold and silver and all those kinds of riches to these temples. And of course we all know about the great Tirupati temple, which happens to be the richest temple on this planet, not just India, but on this planet. So, um, one of the unique features of the early temples was that some of these were hollowed out of huge rocks as artificial caves. The tradition of building artificial caves was an old one. Some of the earliest of these were constructed in the 3rd century, that is 300 years before the birth of Christ, on the orders of Ashoka, for the renouncers who belonged to the Ajivika sect. Guys, renouncers who belong to the Ajivika sect. Renouncers, that is, people who have now, uh, um, relinquished that, and they do not want to have anything to do with the material world. उन्होंने सब कुछ त्याग दिया है, and they have now, they do not want to get into the grihastha system of things. बस अब ईश्वर में मन लगाना है, or probably even if not for God, but they have definitely abandoned the society. So that is how in the Ajivika sect, guys, Ajivika sect was started by Makhali Goshala. Makhali Goshala, and we do not, pay attention to him or whatever he stood for, but he was a contemporary, considered to be a great teacher himself, and interestingly, he was a contemporary of Vardhamana Mahavira as well as Gautam Buddha. Okay, because both the Buddhist literature and the Jain literature mention Makkali Gosala and his teachings. But the most interesting thing is Makkali Gosala for a few years used to be the disciple of Vardhaman Mahavira. Okay, for about, I think, 5 or 6 years, he was the disciple of Vardhaman Mahavira. We shall continue. Thanks.